Well. Good afternoon, West Ham fans. Is it going to be a case in the summer that it's going to be spend? Yes, everybody, Western West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Happy Friday. Another week done. Give yourself a pat on the back. Well done. All go on the on the West Ham Network as per usual. Anton did a show this morning about some early team news for Wolves and West Ham. We'll get that information probably confirmed in Dave Moyes' press conference later on today. If you're at a loose end tonight, 7 p.m, Rush Green under 21s play Derby under 21s in the PL2. Get yourself down there. It's only a couple of quid. I think it's free if you're seeing to go. Don't quote me, but it's literally a couple of quid. You see the academy. You won't need to. You actually see them. They don't just sit on the bench and don't come on. You actually see them play. It's quite an unusual prospect. But it'll be a great game. And they are flying in the PL2, the under-21s. We'll also have, as a David Moyes press conference later on today. We should have Irish Tommy doing a late show tonight. Keep an eye on the channel. And then tomorrow, Anton's going to do the starting 11 show, so blame him this week if it's all wrong. And then we'll have the... we'll have all the starting lineups and all the watch along for the Wolves game, aftermath, that type of thing. And on Sunday, should have hopefully another My Hammers 11. This is with a celebrity fan as well, so that'll be fun. So it'll be something fun on Sunday before we start getting ready for Leverkusen on Thursday, who actually thumped Kaiserslautern yesterday. Was it Wednesday? I can't remember. My days are blurred into one. These 4-day weeks. In the semi-finals of the German League Cup, so they're through to the final. Just another game they've won. But let's move ahead to the summer. Now, PSR, FFP, these are acronyms which have been pissing us off for the last few years, and I think this season we've seen detrimental effects of PSR and FFP. Not just with obviously, really tough punishments for the likes of Everton, who originally were given 10-point deduction. That was reduced to 6. Nottingham Forest as well, 4 points. Apparently Everton have got another one over their heads and potential. You got Chelsea and Man City with hundreds of sanctions against them. But not just that. I mean, looking at January, those punishments. The Everton one was pre the January transfer window, and in terms of spend for the January transfer window, it was a 20th of what was spent the previous January. So it clearly it had a detrimental effect on club spending. There was a lot of loan deals. There was a lot of players being moved in and moved out. And I think, in all honesty, the Premier League are panicking. They're panicking what to do. They know we have to have some sort of sanction in place, but by the sounds of it, PSR isn't going to be the reason. It isn't going to be the solution, rather. Now, according to, I think it was in the Daily Mail yesterday, the Premier League are considering abolishing the points deduction and introducing almost a luxury tax. It's believed that by many officials within the Premier League, the points deductions for Everton and Forest, and obviously coupled with extremely, extremely quiet January transfer window, has deemed the whole profits and sustainability rules, the PSRs, not fit for purpose. And there's real fears within the Premier League that in its current form with PSR, the Premier League is going to fall from its top slot as being basically the world's top league, really the best league, the most lucrative league, and because it basically won't be able to afford to buy the best players and put them on the best wages, which is what they currently are now. You look at some of the wages that some of the players are, and they cut the money that's been spent on a lot of these sides. if clubs can't spend or in fear of spending, then the Premier League's not going to be such an attractive proposition for players, but also commercially, in terms of brands. Um, they there's they've got their end of season meeting with all 20 clubs in June, and basically they are discussing a number of radical reforms, and possibly even an entirely new system, and that's going to be voted in this meeting. Apparently, as many as 17 of the 20 clubs are thought to be leaning towards real change in terms of PSR and how it's handled. They only need 14 to be in agreement to make the rule change happen, though. I think the general idea is with the points and the lack of transparency with the investigation for Man City and Chelsea, PSR just isn't fit for purpose, in all honesty. And there's there's a it's a strange dichotomy, which is quite a long word for a Friday lunchtime. But the trouble, take Newcastle for example. Newcastle on paper are the richest club in the world, but they can't buy the top players in the world if they wanted to because of PSR. They're restricted to do that. In fact, they have to sell someone like Bruno Guimaraes or Alexander Isaac, or maybe both, to then get them to have enough money in the coffers in terms of their revenue, their profit revenue, in order to then spend money. It's a bizarre thing, It's almost like the money's in the bank, but you can't spend it till you can't spend the money you've got until you've got some more money back, which is a bizarre concept. And basically, it reduces it reduces the need. It reduces foreign investment into the Premier League as well, future foreign investment, I think, because clubs can't come in and an owner can't come in and have a go. So that was one of the things about West Ham and a potential maybe Middle Eastern takeover. The fact is, we're in an okay position with PSR, but if someone comes in, they can't splash the cash. They're still heavily restricted in terms of what we can do. And using Newcastle as the prime example. And clubs can't fear, and clubs are currently fearing to have a go in the premise of maybe being punished and end up in the Championship. So one of the things that are being considered is what's called a luxury tax, where clubs can overspend. They can spend whatever they like, but if you spend over the limit, whatever is imposed, then you have to have a financial punishment rather than a sporting punishment. So someone like Newcastle will go out and spend £1 billion, or Chelsea go out and spend £1 billion again, and maybe they have to give 25 million back as a punishment. So it's a luxury tax. And you can carry on spending as you can splash the cash as much as you want, but you'll be aware that you'll have to pay a rebate basically back to the Premier League. This sort of luxury tax. This luxury tax will be tens of millions of pounds, really, and then that will be distributed either to the Premier League clubs who have complied with the rules. So well done, you comply with the rules. There's some money, pocket money, basically, for being a good boy or girl and complying with the rules. But what I think will be more useful, and it's what another area it's being discussed, is using those fines to go into an emergency fund to help those league clubs below the Premier League who are in financial danger when they go to administration, when they're almost going out of business. So we don't have another situation where we lose a Bury or a traditional league club because mishandlement in terms of leadership, in terms of ownership. The Premier League owns enough money, so I think rather than give it back to them for well done, you've done your job, you kept to the rules, almost taking from the rich and giving to the poor. The Robin Hood, Dick Turpin way of working. Now, this luxury tax is an idea which is not new. It's used in baseball, American League, Major League Baseball. It's used in the NBA as well, and relates to the amount spent on salaries of the playing staff. The NFL and the NHL, they have a hard salary cap, which clubs aren't allowed to exceed. So, for two of the biggest sports in America, they have this luxury tax. For the other two, they have this sort of hard salary cap. Now, I mean, some clubs want the tax room. I mean, there's some belief that having this luxury tax should remove the threat of points deduction entirely. However, there's a growing number who think there should be some sporting sanction put in place, and maybe more flexibility and a buffer zone rather than such a hard and fast rule. So, but again, it's the grey area, isn't it? I mean, I don't know how this new way of PSR would reflect on Man City, would affect on the Chelsea charges. It seems. I mean, I can see it both ways. I mean, at the moment, as you know, the PSR is sort of it's very similar to UEFA's new rule. So UEFA limits spending on players, coach wages, transfers, and agent fees to 70% of the club's revenue. And that's going to be reduced, actually. I think it's going to go to 65 in 2 years' time or something like that. That, to me, maintains the status quo. So it doesn't allow for a new pretender to get into the conversation. So for that, Man City, they're in the Champions League. They win the Champions League. They do the World Club Cup. They'll have all the revenue from that. They'll have the revenue from sponsorship, advertising, all that type of stuff. So they can spend probably more than Sheffield United can, for example. And that will never change. But say someone, a Qatari, investment fund bought Sheffield United and pumped in £2 billion worth of money under the luxury tax. They know they've got to pay a little bit back, but they got oodles of the stuff. So, I quite like the idea of the luxury tax in a weird way, because I think what's great about the Premier League is the fact that we do have the best player as a league, is we can get the best players in the world. It also gives the opportunity for an investor to come in and turn the fortunes of a West Ham, of a Fulham, and know that in the back of the mind they've got to pay some money back, but it will be small probably in comparison to the amount of money they're going to lay out. I don't know. There's another option which has been offered, which has been discussed, which is called an anchoring system, which is a sort of salary cap, but it basically relates directly to the wages spent by the bottom club. So, for example, if Sheffield United finish bottom this year and they've got an annual wage bill of about 50 million quid, and then every club would have a set multiple of that figure to spend for this following season. And again, if the club breaks that cap, they pay the full fine. Same as F1. F1 have got a similar thing in terms of wage structure and the amount of money they can invest. And if it goes above that, they have to pay fines or potential points, but it's usually a financial fine they get out of it. I quite like that idea as well. It's a shame, what I really like about the American systems, particularly say the NFL, is the whole draft system. So, the team that finishes bottom in there, that particular division is one of the first draft picks. So gets the first draft of the decent college people coming through, but obviously we don't have that type of system. Whatever happens, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a change to this PSR rule, which could mean a summer of spending potentially. There's again a growing number of people want to change the financial rules so that it's only spent on players and coaching staff over the 3 year period. Currently, only money spent on the stadium, the infrastructure, youth development, women's football, community projects is taken out from those calculations as part of basically £105 million clubs are permitted to lose over the 3 seasons. That's blanket across the whole Premier League. But those pushing for only player and staff costs to be included believe that would free up clubs to invest in the likes of more content, more marketing to grow fan bases on a global basis potentially. And in another shock development, a vote to reverse the February ruling on related party transactions or deals within multi-club networks or with sponsors who have the same owner as a club could also be on the cards. So it was amended in February to the rules, which were approved by the narrowest of margins in honesty. That would happen, particularly the chain. I mean, there's so much dodginess, isn't there? Really, someone like Man City, for example, the thoughts of Man City, um, having their owners having clubs across multiple different countries, loaning from one to the other, that type of thing. Um, I mean, apparently, City were seeking at putting legal action against the Premier League for the February ruling. Um, I mean, obviously, we could have a slight situation, or we don't at the moment, with Danny Grudzinski and Sparta Prague, but it's only because he owns 40% of Sparta Prague, but 27%, which is the reason why we've only got why he's only on 27%. It's a complex situation, um, particularly also. I mean, in terms of how these ideas, these rulings are voted upon. It's widely thought that the traditional big six, so obviously both Manchester clubs, Arsenal, Tottenham are in there, but Liverpool, Chelsea, have tended to vote as a group, and with the introduction of Newcastle, it's created this sort of seismic shift in relationships with, Newcastle now in, it could be seen as a big seven, and some feel that a rule change, rules to encourage investment would result in an even more competitive league. I think it would do. I'm in favour of this sort of luxury tax idea. I think. Um, you're not going to get one size that fits all. You're not going to get You're not get one option which works with everyone. There's going to be winners and losers on both sides. I think the luxury tax idea does allow, particularly for someone like a West Ham, to be bought out by a Qatarian, Middle Eastern investment fund potentially, or a crazy billionaire West Ham fan, and can spend because it's his club. And under the current regime, that wouldn't work. In the current PSR, that wouldn't work, and we'd be stuck with the current regime. We would do, and we would be looking for profitable ways to generate more revenue. So it would be through season tickets increases. It would be through, because there's only a finite amount of money that the TV give you. There's only a finite number that the Premier League will give, or the broadcast rights, the commercial rights. Then it ends up, where else can they squeeze more pounds out? And it would be the fans. So it would be charging more for tickets. It'd be charging more for season ticket renewals. It'd be charged, and as I said, we spoke about it last week. The sort of the over 65s been taken away potentially for the larger, more expensive banding season tickets, and that's to increase the revenue, which means then they can spend more on the club, and the club can get more successful, and maybe I a move into the Champions League would mean that you can spend even more because you're generating even more revenue that next financial year. Someone like Newcastle, they've had a year of Champions League, but now they're probably back. Maybe not even in Europe. They could miss out on Europe or get to the conference. That will invariably affect, and that's why they have to sell potentially in the summer unless these rules are changed, in order to bring in. That's mental, isn't it? The richest club in the world, and they have to sell their best player or the best two players just to fund bringing in players. Doesn't make no sense. But if they know that if they spend, they got to pay back 10% of extra they've got to spend into a fund, which then can be benefiting those league clubs outside the Premier League who don't get the money that the Premier League does. I think that's actually a decent idea. Yes, the likes of City will buy their way out. But to be honest, City have already bought their way out anyway with PSR. They've got 150 charges against them. Chelsea have got 100 odd charges against them, something like that as well. Everton and Nottingham Forest were just too honest and didn't have the money or the clout to buy themselves out of the issues. That's basically what happened. And, we can read between the lines. Anyway, I'll be fascinated to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. I know it's a lot of information, but in theory, I think it'll make it more exciting. For too long we get peddled out FFP, we can't spend because of FFP. We can't spend because of PSR. We can't spend this. We can't do that. We need more money. But if we go right, okay, we can spend, and everyone knows the rules. We can spend. We can spend 100 million, or I don't know. I'm just picking up a number. We spent 110 million. Oh god, we got to give a million back, or something like that. I don't know, but at least it gives teams the ability to have a go. It gives an investor who wants to spend money on a football club the ability, the functionality, the means to go out and spend money and maybe break into that top six, top seven. That big six. Someone could buy out, us or Bournemouth or someone like that, and have a go. I don't know. King of wishful thinking. Anyway, what we will do while we're here is I realise it is the 4th of April and we haven't done our monthly members draw. For anyone new, obviously you can like, share, comment, subscribe. All that stuff is completely free. And if you can do it, be very appreciative. Always nice to do it. Obviously, you can hit the subscribe button, go to all funny colours, or the like button. And hit the bell notification if you want to be made aware of any time we're on. But for those who want to support the channel another way, we have the membership program, where one of the things that is a monthly draw. And we usually give something away. It's obviously something signed. Today we have got a signed football from our friends, our channel sponsors at Umbro. I think who we got on there. I'm trying to look at the numbers because footballers now they sign it and put a number, which does help us out a little bit. I can see Emerson. I think it's just signed before Fab for 4 hours went. Again, 27. Someone's put a little smiley face. No, Ben Johnson, I reckon that's number 2. Christ knows, but it's deflating. It's easier to ascend basically in the post. Anyway, let's give it a big spin. We've got here. Let's put myself in there so you can see. There I am. Hi. Right. Let's and let's also change that as well. So this person wins a free football. And few of these. Very lucky man. Bernie, congratulations. If you can email us at westhamnetwork@gmail.com, we can get that sent out to you. Also, the winners from last month haven't claimed. Go back and check on the community tab. We'll put another shout out in a week or so's time. If we don't hear from you, then we will we've given you a couple of chances. I want some people to have these signed. We've got another signed football, another signed shirt, which I want to distribute to someone. So if you haven't responded by then you might, because you might be a member, you might not be a member now. There we go. So we'll put that out in the community tab again and see if we've got any takers. Otherwise, we might do a rollover midway through this month as well. And until next time, don't forget to check out the channel. We have Dave Boy's press conference in a couple of hours' time. Irish Tommy, yada, 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 all that good stuff coming on. Until next time, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, my friends. Come on, you bloody, bloody irons. Laters, slaters.